Hi everyone, this is me, and this is a stack of books that I checked out from the library in the month of January, and we're going to do a little library book haul, and this will be the first of a sort of new format, or well, not format, but a new kind of monthly update type thing that I want to try out, where, and I've been wanting to do since June, but moving and stuff hindered that process. So anyway, so because it's the first video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you all the books I got, not bought, that I borrowed from the library this month, or at least this month until the date of filming. So the plan is that, not the plan, it is a habit of mine that I go at least once a month to the library and just browse and get whatever looks good. And then I also have some things on reservation that will come up here and there, because I'm on in queues for some stuff and so forth. But I do really, the part of browsing for books is a big is it's like an important, let's say, hobby for me, because it is a way to, I don't know, it's just a very calming and fun experience. And going to the library lets me get as many books as I want without any financial repercussions. Um, so anyway, so the thing is I will do a haul what I get in the beginning of the month, and then so once a month we'll do a refresh of the stacks where I will tell you what new things I got, what I read from the old ones, what I will return, and what I will renew from the ones I already had, and so forth. So, yeah, so I'm just gonna get started, and that was a very long introduction, my apologies. So I'm gonna start with 3 books I put on reservation first, and then go to all the ones that I picked up based on vibes. So, first up is we have 2 books. So a few months ago, months ago now, it's January. In November, the English bookshop here in Sweden turned 30 years old, and they had this big event where they had 6 authors come and visit, and you can see, and I of course had to buy a book and get it signed by every author because I got no self-control, and they all the authors, I couldn't pick one. I've never read anything from any of them, but the way they were talking in the panel discussions and the way they talked about their work and others' work was just, I couldn't not try every one example of from everyone. So you can see them in the back there. They're kind of blurry because my camera's focusing on my hand and not the pictures, not the stack, which is what I wanted to do, but so from that yellow Anne Cleeves book all the way down is the 6 books I got from that author event. And because I'm very picky right now, I don't want to read those copies unless I absolutely have to. So I looked them up at the library, and for the time being, I was able to get my hands on 2. So the first one is Glorious Exploits by Ferdia Lennon. And this apparently is there's a bookmark in it because I started reading it and then I put it down because I wanted to read something else first. So yeah, but apparently the author, who is Irish, was inspired by a historical event in ancient Greece that he came across during his studies of the classics at university, and this is this was during the time period where Sparta and Athens, which were 2 of the major cities in the ancient Greek world, were fighting against each other. And apparently this takes place on the island of Sicily, where Athens sent an army to invade, and they had this big army, and no one was expecting them to lose, but indeed they did lose. And then the Spartans, or the people there in Sicily, had to figure out where to put all these prisoners, so they decided to put them in a quarry. And then apparently this is in that framework that this book is taking place in. And the other sort of point of the plot here is that the way these prisoners survived was by putting on ancient Greek tragedy. Well, to them they weren't ancient, but putting on ancient Greek plays. So like the comet, what, I don't know these phrases in English. I should know, but like stuff like Euripides, and like ancient Greek tragedies and comedies, and in Greek we have a term comedic tragedy. Does that translate? I don't know. So yeah, so it sounded really good, and from the discussion, because apparently this was one of the books that they read for the store's book club back in February, before the idea of moving to Sweden was even in existence for me. And they had a lot to say about it, and also apparently a point that was interesting is that the dialect that these characters speak, although it's set in this ancient, in this like historical setting in ancient Greece, the dialect they use, the conversations are happening in like modern Irish, or I shouldn't say Irish per se. It's modern like Dublin dialect type thing. So yeah, we'll see. I'm looking forward to it. So far, I mean, I only read 20 pages, but interesting query. And the opening sentence, I think, was something the author shared in the talk, so it didn't hit me as much now because I hope you didn't just see that. It didn't hit me as much when I read it, but it is a good one, I think. I guess I shouldn't have said that. Might have spoiled the fact. So anyway, there's that. Then another author that was there was Sarah Waters, and I picked up a copy of Fingersmith because from a very quick Google search where I was standing in line, it seemed quite interesting because I like the fact that it is set in London in 1862, and it is about petty thieves / fingersmiths living in sort of this, in the underbelly of London, in this sort of con man situation. But then apparently she finds like there is a romantic interest that's part of one of her cons, and yeah, I don't know, I just liked it. Seemed interesting. It's quite a thick book. Wow. And this was born, I think this was published. This was published in the same couple of years, in the time period when I was born. So it was funny to sit there and listen to this author talk about this work that she was writing before I existed as a human being. So, but anyway, it's fun. I'm looking forward to that as well. I don't know when I will get to it, but I will. Okay, and then the other one is the Percy Jackson and the Olympians, the first book in that series, called The Lightning Thief by Rick Riordan. So this is a series I absolutely loved in when I was a child, and I have reread this series multiple times, in through middle school and high school, and even once when I was back from college for the winter break. And the new Disney Percy Jackson series is out, and I was just watching season 2. I'm like, okay, I need to reread the books, and then I also need to continue reading other Rick Riordan works, because I was keeping up with them, but then I stopped, I think, after book 1 of The Trials of Apollo and after book 1 of Magnus Chase, and I do really want to read everything again, because if I remember correctly, both the King Chronicles and Magnus Chase did have references or sort of guest appearances by Percy Jackson, by the characters in the Percy Jackson series, so I kind of want to stay in tune with the whole universe. And the Magnus Chase series is based on Norse mythology, and I am currently in Scandinavia, so it was a good opportunity to very, very rudimentary entryway into Norse mythology if I would get back into reading those. So I was putting off rereading it for quite a while because I have all my copies back on my parents' house and not here, but I realized I could just check it out from the library. So this is a series I will be focusing on this year. I don't know how fast or slow I will be getting through it. Depends on how oversaturated I get with it. So We'll see, but I'm hoping to read this soon. I'm gonna wait until the season that's ongoing is done, because that's the season 2, so that's explains the ongoings of the book, of the second book, and this is the first one. So I just don't, I mean, they're not that complicated. I'm not gonna confuse, like, I just want to keep them separate. Also, if you don't know what Percy Jackson is, I might as well explain. So this is a middle grade, I would say, book that follows demigods whose parents are demigods in modern world and time point. So, and the parents of these demigods are the ancient Greek gods of Olympus. So it's well, it's not just the gods of Olympus. It's like the ancient. Anyway, whatever. Let's not get into that. And it's just they go on adventures, and it's fantastic. So, and also the more I read about Rick Riordan, the more I want to support his writing. So anyway, then I was just browsing. So my library here, the big one, the central one. So I'm in Sweden, so obviously the library has Swedish books in it, but they do have a very good selection, at least compared to what I had access to before, of English books. So the way the library is organized is there are, I think, 3 aisles of English books, like in a specific section, and those are mostly general fiction, literary fiction, romance type things, and thrillers, I think, are also included in that section, or like mysteries, crimes. But then, according to the librarians, there's English books interspersed in other sections of the library as well. I haven't had time to properly explore those, with the exception of the fantasy section, because there's literally just one room full of fantasy. And although technically the languages are mixed, most of those books are in English. And fantasy is one of the genres I read the most from, so I prioritized exploring that. So I have books from both of those areas here. Now, eventually, I do want to spend a good 2-3 hours in the library going through the whole thing. Maybe 2-3 hours is excessive, but like a good amount of time going through all the shelves and just getting a better understanding of where I can find English books and what genres. But I'm already spoiled for choice in just these sections. I mean, I was in there for like, I think half an hour, not even half an hour, and I found 11 books, no problem. So, and that's only what's available at the central library, because if I look it up in their system, I can always reserve and have them bring my reservations to the library that's closest to me, and then I get access to the whole city's network. And they have newer releases as well, like Glorious Exploits was published, I think, in 2024, and this is a hardcover, so they might have purchased it like when it was first published. And they also have, because I was reserving some stuff, and they have books that were published in November of last year already, so like, I mean, yeah, if you, especially considering that I'm only here for a year, there is plenty of choice for me at this library. I shouldn't be complaining. So anyway, one of the first things I found in the general English section was this book, which is called Dialogues in Paradise by, I'm gonna butcher this name, by Kan Shu. And it is a short story collection translated from Chinese. And it was like, so they have some shelves in the library where they display like a few books like this on like these stand things, like they're not just packed. And this was on here, and it caught my eye. I don't know if it was the vibe of the cover and the fact that I'm kind of, for whatever reason, I kind of in the mood to read translated fiction. And I keep buying it, and I own a lot of it, but then I rarely pick it up. So maybe I should have read one of the ones I have. But anyway, I never read a Chinese translation, so there's that. And it was right after I had gone to eat hot pot, so maybe I was inspired. So I was a bit apprehensive because I know I don't tend to gravitate towards short story collections, which is a bit stupid because I've never actually tried reading one. I just got it in my head that I wouldn't like it. So, I mean, like, it's insane. And I do think I own at least two short story collections. One of them is in Greek, and one of them is by Eliza. Is it by Eliza Clark? I think it might be by Eliza Clark. And I haven't read those either. But so I don't remember what this is about. Its 13 stories are eloquent in a way the West associates with both the modern and the ancient. The dark oracles of Aeschylus, I'm sorry, I can't pronounce Greek names in English. Aeschylus? It's Aeschylus in Greek. And Sophocles. The paranoid mystery of Kafka. The moving stream of Woolf. Chanju's work renews our consciousness of the long tradition of the irrational in our own literature, where dreams and reality are no longer separate realms, but rather constitute one territory, its borders open, the passage back and forth barely discernible. In Dialogues in Paradise, pure lyrical purity fuses with the darkest visions of the grotesque in a unique literary experience. So that gives me no information about this book is about. About like any plots, but I liked the vibes. I keep saying the vibes and I sound like I'm 12. Anyway, but it just felt moody and poetic, and for whatever reason it intrigued me. Will I read it? I don't know, because I then was looking at the shelf right under it and I found an actual fiction novel, like a full-length novel, not a short story collection. And given my apprehension with short stories, which again is a bit irrational, I thought I might as well pick up the novel and then see what I'm in the mood to read. Maybe I'll read both. I don't know. I probably won't read both in a time frame, in like a small time frame, because I feel like this is one of those works that you need time to sit with, and I don't want to read. And I also don't, unless it's a series, and even then I don't like reading books by the same author back to back to back, because then I feel like I lose the uniqueness of the voice. So yeah, anyway, so I found this novel. It's called Frontier by the same author. It's translated from the Chinese by Karen Gernardt and Chen Zeping. This one, by the way, was translated, I should have mentioned, by Ronald R. Jansen and John Zhang. But apparently this one follows, I think, 12 characters in this village, and they each, and apparently, from what I got from the back, is that you'll have the perspective of each character and their life through this village. And then apparently it is it attempts to unify the grand opposites of life. So and it is a layered, multifaceted masterpiece. Like, I don't know why. Like, who decides that? Anyway, I did think it got some awards. Where was I reading that? Did I imagine that? Okay, yeah, it's here. It's the Best Translated Book Award. Okay. And this one again has these dreams have invaded the physical world critique, which is, I think that's what kind of sold me, this like vibe of this distorted reality type thing. So let's hope it lives up to the expectation and that I actually get around to reading them. Anyway, so a few months back, I'm not sure, I think I filmed it. I don't know if I posted it, but I might have posted it on either Instagram or YouTube. But I had checked out this book, so The Last Heir to Blackwood Library by Hester Fox, I think back in October, and I never got around to reading it. And I saw it at the library, just chilling at the library, and I was like, okay, I'm still intrigued. Let's pick it back up and see if I will get around to it this time. So this is about a woman in post-World War I England. I was gonna say London, but it is not. It's England. I don't know. Oh, it is London. Haha. Well, she leaves London to go somewhere else. But anyway, apparently she inherits this estate that has these creepy rumors floating around it. And in this estate is a magnificent library, to which she is drawn to. Even though others warn her of like this spooky stuff happening. So why not? A book about books, creepy things. It's reminding me a little bit of like gothic type stories, and it seemed interesting. I don't know if I will get to this just because I'm a bit overextended on reading books about books, but it's an option. Okay, what should I do next? Oh, then I was, again, so these were all in the English section, by the way. Then I saw that they had all the books they were all in next to each other in a row by Chloe Lisa, I don't know how to pronounce that. All the books of her Bergman Brothers series. And I picked the first one up, which is Only When It's Us, because this is a series, if I remember correctly, that follows, different siblings of the same family, and from what I know, all of them have some sort of sports component. But the reason I picked this up, because you might have noticed that I'm a bit in a romance reading slump, but nothing is working for me. Everything I read is just bad, at least for me. But there was a time, where the only thing I could handle reading was romance novels in college. So I was reading one year, probably like 70 of them, like back to back to back, and that's not how I normally like to read. Like I cannot just read one genre all the time. But most of the stories, because of that, have blended together in my head. But one of the few that I remember particularly enjoying and still remember clearly was, I think the 5th book in this series was called Everything for You. Yeah, Everything for You. And that was a soccer sports romance. And I just remember really enjoying that book and that story. I don't know if it was just that story specifically, but I'm hoping the author's work isn't. And I also remember enjoying the writing. So if nothing else, this shouldn't be as. I should at least find the writing acceptable, even if the story doesn't resonate as much. So yeah, so I picked it up to hopefully get me out of this reading slump, and then I will probably, hopefully, very slowly work through the rest of this series, unless this turns out to be horrible. I will, full disclosure, say that I had started reading this at some point. I probably got halfway through a year or two ago, and then I don't know why I just didn't. Well, I do know why. It's because I was reading it on my laptop, and I despise reading books in digital form. So that's probably why I didn't finish it. But yeah, looking forward to that. Then another book, I think was one of the first I found in the English section, was Nightboat to Tangier. And where did I find that wasn't that. Okay, sorry, I was just sorting those out. And what is this about? I don't know, it seemed intriguing. It's late, it says here. It's late one night at the Spanish port of Algeciras, and 2 fading Irish gangsters are waiting on the boat for Tangier. A lover has been lost, a daughter has gone missing, their world has come asunder. Can it be put together again? So I think this was actually one of the first books I decided I was going to get, because I was in a very literary fiction mood, and even sort of sad literary fiction, and this seemed to hit the mark. Yeah, it's still not giving me a plot. It's just giving me random, which, okay. Nightboat to Tangier is a novel drenched in sex and death and narcotics and sudden violence and old magic, but above all, it is a book obsessed with the mysteries of love. It's a work of melancholy beauty, wit, and lyrical brilliance. I mean, that sounds bad. Not bad. Jeez. That sounds good. It's just now that I'm filming this and going through all these books, this would probably be the last one I would gravitate towards. So I don't know if I will end up reading it anytime soon, but I have now at least familiarized myself with the title, and maybe I will want to revisit it later. Or I might read it. Like, I don't know. Tomorrow me might decide that I need to read this right now. Like, I'm very unpredictable in that aspect. Okay, and then I think this is the last one from that English section. And this is The Apothecary's Daughter by Charlotte Betts. And this is set in 16th century, I think also England. Pretty sure it's 16th century, but then not sure. I think it's England. There's if I remember correctly, I don't know. Let's see. Where are you? There used, I guess, some point, I don't know when, there were like, there we go, November. But it doesn't say where. Okay, well, I kind of assumed it was in England. Oh yeah, through London. There we go. Okay. So apparently there's this woman named Susanna who kind of works in her father's apothecary, but that's frowned upon because she's a woman. And then she gets she gets a marriage proposal from this like mysterious guy, and I don't know if they get married or engaged or what happens, but then this guy brings chaos apparently in this 16th century, I think, London. And I was like, why not? Why not? We'll give it a go. And then I went to the fantasy section, and then here I had already picked up this huge stack of books, and this was an impromptu visit, so I didn't have appropriate carrying items, so I could barely fit these into a bag I was carrying. So I didn't go nuts with the fantasy because I've been reading a lot of fantasy, and I feel myself wanting to read something different, or at least that's not true. It's just a thing with fantasy, it's such a multifaceted genre that even if I only read fantasy, I can still diversify it enough that I don't feel bored or that I'm reading the same story. But I did want to have some more genres included in my options. So anyway, so I'm also in the middle of reading I'm reading like a trilogy, and then I'm reading the Ben Aranovich Rivers of London series, which is a fantasy series, but it's not like an epic fantasy thing. But I don't want to add. Oh, and I technically read. It's a standalone technically. The what is it called? Christopher Buehlman's. Oh my gosh, I can't remember what it's called. Oh, The Black Tongue Thief. But there's a prequel out, and I do want to read the prequel to get it complete as a series before I start a new one. So having said that, I did want to find a high fantasy series to start and try, and then just whatever else seemed good. But I didn't want to get like 5 different book ones in series, if you know what I mean. So anyway, so I browsed and I found this one. Oh, okay. Little accident there with the camera. Let's get this situated. Okay, so I found Blood of an Exile by Brian Nesland. And all I really read, I'd never heard of this before, and all I saw was the back, which says, "Exile, there is need of you in the capital. Whatever shithole barn you are sleeping in, wake up. Whatever lizard you are hunting, let it escape. Your banishment is lifted temporarily. Return to Floodhaven. Herzog Mulgrave, King of Elmira." And to be honest, I was hoping the voice kind of reminded me of the one in The Black Tongue Thief. And I had that on my mind because I had just placed a reservation for The Daughter's War, which is a prequel. And it seemed like something a bit different than the series I'm reading now. And I was like, why not? So I picked that up. And that's all I know. well, that's all I knew when I picked it up. I have started reading this before I started filming, and I did decide to DNF it, but we will talk about that later. I don't think it's a bad book, but I will go more into depth during my wrap up for January. But I can tell you that there's this, well, actually, I think there is, there is a description, but I don't think I read this before I checked it out. Yeah, so basically there's this guy who's been exiled, and when you're exiled in this world, you have to become a dragon slayer, and most people don't survive their first kill attempt, but this guy has been alive for 14 years and has killed, I think, 67 dragons or whatnot. But the important thing here is that dragons, at least insofar as I have read, dragons are just considered a different, like an animal species that live in the wild. And then this book takes a bit of an ecological approach to, like, the happenings in this book are kind of like the politics. Well, okay, the quest this guy goes on is motivated by ecological aspects and protecting the dragons that he is killing. But yeah, which is a cool premise, but yeah, I wasn't feeling it. But who knows, maybe I'll change my mind and pick it back up before the month ends, but I don't think so. Anyway, and then 2 more books. So we have The Bone Orchard by Sarah A. Mueller, and I saw this because I saw this spine, and I saw the skeletal hand, and I was like, that looks cool. So I picked it up, and look, this is so cool. Anyway, it's cool, especially when you see, when I tell you what the premise is. So the premise is that there is this notorious house that is of ill repute. Is it set in a historical setting? I don't know where this is set. And the thing about this house is that there are trees in a garden in the back, which are grown from bones and nourished by the darkest secrets. And apparently there's the king comes to this notorious house to have some downtime with his concubine, but then during one of his visits he's murdered. So the women who tend to this garden and this house try to solve this crime. But what I also found intriguing is that the names of these women are Shame, Justice, Desire, Pride, Pain, and Charm, which seems like a very intriguing literary device if it is well executed. So I have high hopes for this book. And it's probably one of the first that I'm going to pick up. I say that now, but we shall see. When was this published? 2022. Okay. Great. Cool. I have high expectations for that one, to be honest. And then I found this. This was also one of those books that is like prominently displayed on one of those stands. So this is called, oh, it's so tall, you can't even see it in frame. It's called, I'm gonna butcher this, Kaikeyi by Vaishnavi Patel. And apparently it is a mythical sort of folklore retelling from I think from a Southeast Asian tale. I might be getting that wrong, but that is the idea I got. So anyway, there's this, I didn't even read this whole blurb, it just seemed interesting. So the first quote that you can see here, you can't see, yeah, anyway, I'll just read it. I was born on the full moon under an auspicious constellation, sorry, I'm not wearing my glasses, the holiest of positions, much good it did me. Which sounds like there's like some wit to it, you know, which I always like in books. So this is the only daughter of a kingdom, and she is raised on the tales of God. And then, of course, she is a daughter and not a son, so things happen in that regard. And then she calls, And then she somehow discovers magic that is hers alone, and with it she transforms herself from an overlooked princess into a warrior, diplomat, and most favored queen. And then there's some evil coming in that she has to deal with. So, I mean, sounds good, right? So yeah, that's also probably high on the... Look at me prioritizing fantasy again. Honestly, I think I'm at the moment of filming this, although I have to finish like the 3 other books I'm reading already, so who knows what mood I'll be in when that happens. I think I'm leaning towards starting the Bone Orchard, and then this one. And then these Chinese translations are also kind of calling my name. So these, the Frontier and the, oh, I need to stop knocking over the camera, and Dialogues in Paradise. Yeah. So those are what I'm most intrigued by right this second. I'm also kind of maybe gonna read this. I'm a bit afraid because I'm reading this other romance now and it's so bad it's not even funny. So I just don't want my feelings for that book to bleed into this one, so maybe I need to take some time off before I read this. But yeah, I will probably read at least one of these by the next time we do a library refresh. So this was I guess it was a library refresh. It was a library haul, but moving forward, it will be a update the stacks. I hope you enjoyed this little video, and if you have read any of these books and have opinions on them, please feel free to share in the comments. I'd be happy to start a discussion. I'd be more than happy to start a discussion with you. Or perhaps you will influence me to begin or not begin a book. We'll see. I don't know, but feel free to comment anything you like in that regard. And until next time, happy reading.